that she's created for people. And also, I must say, after looking a little bit deeper into her work, and with my diligent research that I've done, this woman seems like, to me, she uses a lot of satanic doctrine, satanic tricks, black magic, occulted tricks, which to me, and I've spoken on the radio about before, all the occulted tricks that seem to be like pure, real magic, but really they are mind tricks, and she knows every trick in the book. Personally. She is like a high black priestess. She's adept at occulted knowledge.
I just think she read Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible and fooled around with it as a teenager. And
background a little bit, because you have an interesting point of view. You come from the Church of Satan, which, you know, people oftentimes think is a bit of a, was a bit of a, not a hoax, but sort of, it was a bit of a horse and pony show, right? Where Anton LaVey liked to dress up and, have these, put on makeup and kind of make his eyebrows look really weird. And, people thought it was not really, didn't really amount to anything. It was just sort of, it was contrarian in a sense, right? Contrarian to a religious society when he established it in 1966. What drew you to the church, and what did you ultimately discover in that process of becoming a priest?
So we feel the greatest sin of all is self-deceit. Believe in selfishness. Be a sinner, be the best sinner on the block. You're going to do something that's naughty, do it. And realize that you're doing something naughty and enjoy it.
A satanic cult, and they changed their story. Shouldn't you point that out?
The topic of satanic rituals has long been taboo. Few speak of the underground world. Criminal cases are rare. It's why a young woman is speaking out about what she calls years of abuse right here in the gym state. For 13 years, reality for Teal Swan was that of a satanic cult.
But was it Satanism? With the trailer, the first trailer for this documentary about her life, this movie about her life, it transpires it's not a satanic cult, it's a cult from Mormonism. And there were some abuses of her as a child. The idea of her being abused.
A little bit deeper into her work, and with my diligent research that I've done, this woman seems like, to me, she uses a lot of satanic doctrine, satanic tricks, black magic, occulted tricks, which to me, and I've spoken on the radio about before, all the occulted tricks that seem to be like pure, real magic, but really they are mind tricks, and she knows every trick in the book. Personally. She is like a high black priestess. She's adept at occulted knowledge.
I just think she read Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible and fooled around with it as a teenager, and probably knew some white supremacists in Idaho that she dated for a while. That's where I think she got most of this occult crap from. I don't think that she really actually studied it into any great deal. She's not super knowledgeable.
Oh gosh, I'd hate to say if she did, Cameron, because she's pretty good at it as it is. She's the master of fusion.
Yeah, but it's part of it. This is the mental disorders that she has in general. I mean, they're very fitting to a lot of the satanic doctrines. I mean, they don't believe in self-sacrifice. They don't believe in being nice to people if they insult you in their house. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that she follows or subscribes to that's just, and she likes Hitler. She likes, she says makes very racist remarks a lot of the time. I mean, she's claimed that Hitler was the greatest catalyst for world peace. I just think there's something else going on there. Hitler was very involved in the occult, and I think that coming from Idaho is a very white supremacist state in the United States. It's It's where the Aryan Nation's headquarters was for a while, or Aryan Nation's, whatever you want to call it, their meetup group was for a while. I just think she ended up running into some guy, dating a guy, because she's a serial dater, like back when she was a teenager, and she probably got introduced to some of these ideas and concepts and really took it and ran with it. And so it seemed like she had exposure to quite a bit of dark knowledge, where she probably just dabbled in it.
Absolutely.
Rituals in someone's basement.
And
I was involved in it after I kind of developed a lot of disdain for organized religion. That anger didn't really have an outlet, so what I looked for was I tried to gravitate toward the antithesis of any kind of a religious belief system into the system in which I was born. I wanted the opposite of that. And so I found it in the form of dark occultism in general, but specifically the ideology of Satanism. Now, when you say that term to people, they think, devil, in the red suit with the pitchfork and tail and horns. The Christian conception of the devil. This is not what the organized ideology or religion of modern day Satanism is at all. It does. Now, you could find Satanists who accept and believe in that archetypal image, and may accept that exists, but that is not what the overall ideology of Satanism is about. And we can get to what it's really about, but people have a erroneous notion of what Satanism really is. But I was drawn into Satanism and dark occultism because it espoused the exact opposite of religious dogmatic teachings. It was largely atheistic, and it was, an ideology that was really all about the self.
With teachings that are concerned with developing your own happiness. So the question we're going to address today is, does finding your own happiness, seeking out your own happiness, and focusing on your own happiness feed the ego? In other words, today's episode is going to be about helping yourself. An issue that's quite often brought against my teachings is the teaching of ego. The idea that it is nothing but a selfish ego type of teaching to tell you to withdraw your attention from the rest of the world and focus it purely on yourself. Consciousness. You are the projector. Your reality is the projector screen. So ego is not a monster. Making an enemy of ego is making an enemy of yourself. So ego is not a monster. Making an enemy of ego is making an enemy of yourself. So ego is not a monster. Making an enemy of ego is making an enemy of yourself. You're at war with yourself and with your original intention for coming into this life. We think that focusing on ourselves means that we are cutting ourselves off in a kind of pink bubble from the rest of the world. We're putting blinders on to problems and abandoning the rest of the world by only being concerned with our internal experience and our own happiness. Those of us who think the world is separate from us and that other people are separate from us spend a great deal of time trapped in the illusion of a separate self, which is the very definition of ego. Present within you. You are the man sitting on the hilltop in his $1 million mansion. He is the projection of the jealousy within you.
How narcissists tell on themselves. Yes, that's right. Tell on themselves. It happens in two ways. The first one is the most common and the most talked about, which is via projection. So, everything that the narcissist is accusing you of, they are doing to you. For example, if they say, "You're cheating on me," hello, it means they're cheating on you. If they say, "Hey, you've been reading my text messages," it means they've been reading your text messages. It's a total giveaway.
Between the stories are quite large, and the so-called scars on Teal, which do indeed appear to be genuine scars on her arms, amongst other parts of her body, seem to be possibly self-inflicted.
And I myself had a very hard time believing it. Many won't believe her. What she says is hard to confirm. Teal knows many won't believe her. What she says is hard to confirm. perspective you just heard is probably hard for you to believe. And I can tell you that I sat across from Teal for 3 hours, and I myself had a very hard time believing it. I did reach out to several mental health providers to see if Teal's behavior was consistent with the abuse that she described.
We find ourselves getting triggered either personally or professionally by this very challenging, difficult individual. You know, this larger-than-life, blustery character. And for me, that was the case. And I really felt myself, you know, believing myself to be quite a sturdy person and finding myself very thrown back into states of vulnerability that were only memorable, you know, through the lens of my childhood. Right. And so it was really interesting to me. But, you know, because I am, and perhaps you are too, I'm curious and I like a challenge. It really evolved into a decision to understand this better and figure out how to see if there's a way to actually help these people and help the people who are being offended by them.
The specialty, this expertise, because I never intended to, in a million years, to become an expert on narcissism. In fact, I was really focused on becoming, you know, a spokesperson, a specialist, and, you know, perhaps, you know, an expert one day on this codependency, self-love deficit disorder topic that I speak about and write about. And it was the responses to my videos and my book that brought it to my attention that people really need to understand about narcissism.